Let's look at wall sections here. And there's a couple of examples in the textbook that I referenced that you can look at to get a little bit more information. But basically, you're drawing a section of the house. So the footing size is, you know, the size given on your foundation plan, your foundation wall here. Uh, you've got your sand or gravel bedding underneath the slab itself. And then we got some welded wire mesh reinforcing right here that goes through the slab. I don't need no A360. Okay. Uh, Drain tile, gravel backfill, insulation board against the concrete, sand backfill on top of the gravel. Okay. And then dirt up here. Okay. The anchor bolt, I mean, you can download one of these from the design center and insert it, or you can just draw one. That works. That works too. Okay. You have a sill plate, which is a 2x6 pressure treated, and then we're using 16-inch floor trusses. That's made of 2x4s. Okay. Um, the exterior sheathing here, and there's. I think what happened is when I originally drew this, I was using half-inch sheathing, and then in the book we changed the assignment to 3/4 sheathing, so I've got a little overhang right there where right here where I should not. It should be flush on the outside of the concrete and the outside of the sheathing. Okay. And then on top of that, we've got 3/4 inch plywood subfloor right across here. 2x4 sole plate. That's an extra line. Don't need it. You 2x4 sill plate. Your studs coming up. Your sheathing, half-inch drywall on the inside, and I'll finish saying what all we got, and then I'll talk about sizes. Double 2x4 top plate. Okay. Half-inch drywall ceiling. This one has roof trusses. Kind of a heel type truss, it just goes straight out. That's the way the example in the text is, so that's okay for that. I did some 3/8 inch soffit material there, a 1x6 fascia on the outside, and then half-inch roof sheathing, roof decking going up the top. Okay, now sizes. The size of the footing and the thickness of the wall, that's come from your basement plan. Okay, and we're going to go with an 8'6" tall concrete wall. Okay, that will give me 9'6" 1/4 from basement floor to subfloor of the first floor. Okay, so it gives me about 8 foot, a little bit less than an 8-foot ceiling here, about an 8 foot from there to the floor. Okay, not a big concern right now. Okay, first floor, the book, I think the book actually has 8'1.5". In reality, it's a little bit different than that, but I'm not going to, squelch anything on that. So we can go with 8'1.5". Now the drywall, if you notice, the drywall doesn't sit on the subfloor the way the top plate is, because a sheet of drywall is 8 feet long. And then we have a half-inch here. The ceiling goes in first, then the wall board butts up against it. So there's a half-inch there, 8 foot here, and so that leaves me with a 1-inch gap between the bottom of the wall board and the top of the subfloor. Okay. The fascia board, I said this was a 3/8. It's kind of typical for what they use on soffit boards. Okay. And then the fascia is a 1x6, and this hatching, I created it and arrayed it. Okay, there's not a good hatch pattern for finished wood. Okay, and this This would be a hatch pattern that we would use for finished trim, okay, to differentiate it from framing lumber, which gets a double X through it right there, which is dimensional framing lumber. Um, Notice there's no siding on the outside drawn because it's really a pain in the neck to draw horizontal lap siding, and there's no shingles drawn on top of the deck because they're just a bunch of overlapping lines in reality. So this is your drawing here. One thing that's not shown right here is the insulation, the bad insulation. I've got that in an example over here. And it's actually a line type. So if you go to your lines, you want to load it. If it's not loaded already, you may have to load it. And it's called batting. Okay. And so you go to the correct layer. We'll go on the pattern layer and you do a line. Okay. And it looks really huge based on whatever settings you had last time. So what you have to do is you have to draw it and then you have to play with the properties on it. Okay, so you play with your properties and you want to measure the width of it. Okay, in the walls here, you want it to be about 3 inches thick. Okay, in the wall. The ceiling, this one is, you got to get it right in the center where the actual line is. There we go. I've got both of them selected. Because that should be, it probably should be about 8 inches wide up here at the top. So even that's kind of too big. That's looking a little better. And other than, you know, kind of drawing it yourself, there's not really a great way to get it to extend over into here using this line type. So you kind of have to play with it a little bit if you want to include the bad insulation in the attic. It's kind of iffy thing. Okay, so you don't have to do two of these. You're going to do one of these, okay, with dimensions. Not a lot of dimensions needed. The height of various things, the roof slope, the size of the footing, and then everything else is done with a note and a leader, as it shows in the textbook. And um, I think I can put a couple of examples up in Blackboard for you to look at also. Um, so that's pretty straightforward. Okay, everything lines up with the exterior sheathing, and you kind of work your way in and work your way up and work your way down. Um, yeah, and that's about it. If you got questions, shoot me an email. Come see me in the lab.